This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome to Calm AF. Happy to be here with you. So it's March. Happy March. We are officially, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, moving out of winter and into spring, which makes this the perfect time to start our next series, our next Calm AF series on decluttering. We're going to talk about all the different ways we can declutter. We're going to talk about physical decluttering, mental decluttering, emotional decluttering over the next few weeks. So let's start with a little refresher on why we are talking about decluttering at all in a podcast teaching people how to calm down, how to regulate their nervous systems. Well, let's remember that Calm AF isn't a feeling state. The goal isn't to be just feeling the feeling of calm. It's the energy of calm. It's a regulated state of being. Right? Like you might think about Calm AF is parasympathetic AF, right? We're always wanting to get into that parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, where we aren't feeling either like we need to hypervigilantly move through the world or shut down. So Calm AF is this gorgeous nervous system that's not overreacting. It's not staying in that overreactionary state. And in order to get to and stay in that Calm AF energy in our own selves and our own lives, we need to be tending to all of the parts of the Calm AF system, all of the things that influence our energy, right? And remember, the Calm AF system is comprised of the mind, the body, and the bubble being that energetic space around the mind and the body, right? So that would be the people that you surround yourself with, the words that people are speaking, their moods, the things you are listening to, the words you're reading, the sounds you are consuming, and the things that are surrounding you in your living spaces or where you spend your time, aka your stuff, right? All of those things that come into and onto your energetic bubble are themselves energy. And energy is, to put it really super simply, it's either making you feel good, making you feel nothing, or making you feel like shit. Everything that comes into your energetic space, into your bubble and onto your bubble will lie somewhere on the spectrum between supporting you in the life you want to create or draining you, keeping you from the life you want. All of it, all of the stuff. And whether you're paying attention to it or not, it is all impacting your state of regulation. It's like background noise, right? You might not be paying attention to background noise, whether it's just because it's not important or because you're not paying attention to it, but it is still noise that is happening in the background. So I don't care how much you work on your thoughts or set boundaries. If there's a whole lot of draining, heavy energy that is stuck to your bubble, that is inside your bubble, it's not going to feel Calm AF. It's going to be really hard to regulate. Okay? So let's get into the bubble part of the decluttering series, specifically tending to your stuff, physical clutter. Now, I want you to think about how it normally goes when you're like, okay, I'm going to declutter, right? It might be, oh my God, this house is a freaking disaster. There is stuff everywhere. Why can't I get my shit together? Why can't these people that I live with get their shit together? Why is everything always on me? Why is it so hard for me? Why can't I control this? Why do I keep collecting clutter? How did I end up here again? Right? So that is the energy that we often approach decluttering from, right? That desperate, there's something wrong with me feeling. That urgent, oh my God, I can't do anything else until this house is decluttered, the whole entire house. That frantic feeling. Right? You declare this weekend, I'm going to get this entire house decluttered and I'm going to keep it that way. And here is why that never happens. Why it just never works to approach your decluttering in that way. It's the same reason why punishing yourself to try and love yourself more doesn't work. It's backwards. It's backwards. You're never going to feel good at the end if you don't feel good on the way there. The Calm AF approach to decluttering is an act of self-love. It's a thing you do for yourself because of how it makes you feel, because you deserve to be surrounded by a supportive environment, because the state of your house has nothing to do with your worthiness. You can live in clutter from the bottom of the floor to the top of the ceiling, and that has nothing to do with your worthiness. But it sure does feel good to have a nice space to relax in that isn't talking your ear off. Clutter is very loud. It's that background noise. It's just chatting away in your ear. If you want to make lasting, lifelong changes in your life, punishing yourself to get there, no matter what it is not going to keep you there. This includes decluttering. So, the Calm AF approach to decluttering is made up of 3 parts. There's the pre-work, there's the work, and there's the post-work. Now, if you follow this approach, you will curate living spaces or wherever you spend your time that's supportive of the life you want to live and how you want that life to feel. Okay, so let's start with the pre-work. I really believe in all of my body that the pre-work is by far the most important step and the step that is almost never done. In any of the books you read, in any of the methods that you've tried before, this doesn't usually make its way into the process, the pre-work. And the pre-work might take a few hours or more to complete. And while that does mean your clutter project might have to be delayed by a day or two, and I know, I'm a person that gets really excited and want to dive right in. You just want to get to the good part. But I promise you, as a person who speaks from experience, this pre-work will save you thousands and thousands of hours of your life. I myself spent several days diving into this pre-work more than a decade ago, and I have never reaccumulated that clutter again. At least not in the way I did before. I want to be clear, my house is not like this museum, like 100% clutter-free space. There's just not much clutter, right? And we've kept it this way for more than 10 years. Okay, so the pre-work. In the pre-work, you're simply going to just get really curious. You're going to dig in and find all your thoughts and stories and beliefs about all of the different areas of clutter, right? What are your stories that you have about clutter? What were the things that you were taught about clutter? What was the story that you learned from your parent, from your mom, from your dad, from your sister? What makes something clutter versus not clutter? Right? You're just asking yourself these questions. What was your family story about clutter? Right? Did you have a super cluttered house and you never wanted anyone to come over and you always were like, it's my life's mission to never be that way again? Or did you live in a house where there was no clutter, right? And it was like very sterile? You want to also be looking for the thoughts you have about your relationship with clutter. Right? Why do you think it's hard? Why do you gather clutter? How did you get all this stuff? What makes decluttering hard for you? Why haven't you done it and then kept it up forever? What happens? What's the pattern? What's the way you've approached decluttering in the past? Because listen, that's a really important question. Because no offense, but if you recollect clutter every single time, then your approach isn't working, right? That doesn't mean you have to beat yourself up. There's nothing we can do about the past. It's just now that you know, maybe you should do something different this time, okay? You're looking into all of this to get clues on how to do it differently this time, right? For me, I used to attack my clutter all at once. It would be it would build and build and build, and then I couldn't take anymore. And then I'd be like, that's it. This weekend, this is back from when I was little, my little toy room. I was an only child, so the spare bedroom was just my toys, and it would just get out of control. And I would just keep going in there, and then I would be too overwhelmed and I didn't know how to do it, right? So it would be like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to clean this toy. I'm going to spend the whole day. Or, as I got older, once I had kids, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to send the kids away for the weekend. I'm going to make sure everybody leaves me alone and they don't interrupt me. That's the only way I'm going to be able to finish this project. Right? And it seems like it would have worked, but I always ended up getting less done than I wanted for reasons that I'll share later, right? Because I didn't have a plan. And then I would feel bad about myself for it. Like I wasted all that time I spent, and I don't have anything to show for it, right? I would get stuck on where to start. I would get stuck on what to do with things. Like, do I throw this away? Do I donate it? Do I keep it? So after hours of doing the work, the actual decluttering, I would just get overwhelmed and quit. Right? I would just get so far and lose steam, and I would put everything back and shove the clutter back. Or I would get through some of it and I wouldn't finish. Everything would be in the donation bags, and then the donation bags wouldn't move forever. Right? The pre-work is what will make this the last time you have to declutter in this way. Okay? The pre-work is going to help you decide what's going to work best for you. I want you to really hear me say this, okay? Because what I want you to understand is that there is no one way, there is no right way to declutter. The reason why you're doing the pre-work is to find the right way for you. Please remember this. I remember however long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when everyone was going bananas for Marie Kondo. And I remember thinking, oh my God, if this were me 5-10 years ago, I would have been obsessed with this Marie Kondo method, right? I would have been all about it. That is what I want. That result, that perfectly curated everything in its place and everything looks so perfect. That's what I want. Why can't I have that, right? And I would have tried it and I would have failed. And I didn't get into the Marie Kondo because I had done the pre-work years and years ago. And I knew this kind of approach was not going to work for me because it had never worked for me. In fact, here's what I will say about the Kondo method is that it doesn't really work for most people. I mean, short term, yes, you can get that closet sparking joy, right? But without the pre-work, it's going to be back. That clutter's going to come back along with all of the thoughts now about how you failed again, how you said you were going to do it, follow through this time, and you didn't, right? It's not even just about the clutter coming back. It's all the thoughts that you have about yourself. That's why I think the pre-work is so that you don't ever have to do that again. You can declutter for the last time, and then it's just about maintenance. Also, speaking of Marie Kondo, did you hear that she just recently came out and she was like, oh, my bad. I had a couple of kids and maybe this approach doesn't work all the time. Yes. I want you to be aware of prescriptive, this is how you do it approaches about anything, whether it's decluttering, parenting, marriage, goal setting. You are an individual. No one knows the perfect answer for you except for you, right? What works for one person, even if they write a book about it and everybody's following it, I want you to keep that in mind. Take the parts that do work for you, but really know yourself first and foremost. That's what the pre-work is for. Okay. Anyway, once you know what not to do from the pre-work, you're going to come up with a plan for the second step, the work. And that plan is going to be a very, very simple plan. For the most part, I would say the overwhelming majority of people, the Calm AF approach is going to work best with that slow and steady progress. We're not going to do the weekend attack unless that is something that works for you, or if that's the only option. I don't have this slow and steady time, even though, yes, you do, because I will tell you in a few minutes that it can be 5 minutes a day. Like anything else we do, though, in our whole life, the slow and steady approach takes us out of that instant gratification, quick win energy and into a sustainable, I can do this forever energy. That is the place that you want to get to in the decluttering process, because it will be something you do forever, because we are humans and we do accumulate. It's just whether or not we keep that and it builds before we attack it again. So you want to make this as easy as possible with as many decisions made ahead of time as possible. So here are the decisions that you can make before you dive into the actual decluttering. You're going to decide on which one spot is going to get your focus today. You're going to decide that before you start. And it's going to be a small spot. It's not going to be, today I'm going to declutter my basement. It's, today I'm going to declutter this one specific box in my basement. Or I'm not going to do the entire kitchen. I'm going to do this one specific drawer of my kitchen. Okay, so that's the first decision to make ahead of time. The other one is to decide how you're going to sort the things that you're going through. So for the most part, you're going to be keeping things and you're going to be donating things and you're going to be throwing things away. So you're going to want to have a box for donations, a garbage bag for tossing things. You're going to want a container for things you'll keep. And also, I suggest having a separate container for things that you're not sure of what to do in the moment. Instead of spending your decluttering time focusing on that, you're just going to set that off to the side. Also, I want to make something clear here. This is something that I think we don't always think about, but have a plan ahead of time for what you're going to do with the donations, right? So I was a person who would just have 30 donation bags in the back of my car for months at a time because there was no plan on what to do next. So make a plan on what you're going to do, how you are going to get rid of them. Maybe you can delegate it. You can be the one decluttering. You can have someone else be the one to take it to the donation center. I, myself, the easiest thing that I did, and I love this process, is I started scheduling a donation pickup. So they would just come to your house and you would just tell them, this is the day that I'm going to have the stuff out there. And they would come, they would pick it up and they would take it away. So I would schedule them every week or two. Not only did that keep me moving through my stuff, but it also helped me complete the project. Like it was the plan for what to do with my donations. Okay, so the things, where will you focus? How will you sort your things? And the third decision that you're going to make ahead of time is how long will you focus there? Now, you're going to want to fight me on this, but I highly suggest you decide between 5 and 10 or 15 minutes. That's it, right? If you have a longer stretch, like 30 minutes or something, okay. But if you are a person that tends to get overwhelmed by these decluttering attempts, that you have a lot of history of starting and stopping and, not kind of following through, I highly suggest these very small bursts because they're going to save you in the long term. I always share my basement story. Honest to God, I wish I had pictures, but I was too filled with shame to take a picture. But my basement was filled floor to ceiling with clutter at one point. And it was also mixed in with things that weren't clutter. It was like, there was like paths through the basement. So you could get to like the whatever it's called. What is that thing called that has those switches? The fuse box, right? If we lost power or something, we had a path to get there and that's about it. Okay. But I spent 10 minutes a day. I would go down there. I would set my timer. I would choose my spot. I would choose the 10 minutes and then I would declutter it. And that 10 minutes a day, it was done within months. And I know you want to have it done faster, but remember, this is the way to do it so you never reaccumulate again, slow and steady. I also suggest that if you have a lot of big, scary decluttering projects, that you start with a simple and easy project. Okay? If that pile of papers in the corner of the room freaks you out, even the thought of it, don't start there. Start somewhere simpler. Every day that you have a little win with your simple projects, you're going to be building your confidence so that you feel capable of doing the scarier things later without getting stuck. Okay, so those are the decisions you make ahead of time. Basically, where you're going to pick and how long and what to do with the donations. So, now we're at the actual process of deciding on what to do with all of our things, with all of that stuff. Okay, and here it's very simple. You're just going to get curious about it. You're going to put on those curiosity glasses that we just talked about, and the lenses are your future self. So everything that you handle, you're asking yourself a set of questions so that you know what to do with it, so that you know, is this clutter or is this not clutter? Some of the things you'll handle, you won't have to stop and ask all the questions. Like I just recently did my makeup drawer and there were 3 empty containers. And obviously I didn't stop and think do I love this? Do I use this? I just tossed it in the garbage. But if you pick up something and you're like, I'm not sure if this is clutter, I'm not sure if I should keep this or donate it or what, you just ask yourself more questions. So I always start, I call it the big 3 questions. This is straight from what I learned from Amanda Gibby Peters. She's a feng shui expert. She's this energy master. She's the founder of Simple Shui. She has such a great podcast called House Therapy. Everybody loves it. You should definitely listen. So she says to ask yourself these 3 questions to decide whether or not something is clutter or not. Do I love it? Do I use it? Would I buy it again? Those 3 questions will tell you whether this thing is just taking up space or it is something that is not clutter. So every time you get stuck or you feel a little uncertain, you just ask yourself those 3 questions and see what the answers are. If your answer to any or maybe all of them is no, I don't love it, I don't really use it, I wouldn't buy it again, then it's clutter and you can remove it from your living space. Because here's what you need to remember about clutter. Remember, clutter is energy. It is talking to you. And clutter is not nice. It's not like telling you loving things. It's not whispering loving phrases into your ear like, you're so great. It feels really heavy. It's telling you that you suck, right? It's telling you that you should be doing more. It's telling you that you don't have the time or you don't deserve to sit down and relax. Clutter is heavy, energetic residue that sticks to the outside of our bubble. It's the result of procrastination, of fear of making wrong decisions, of fear of letting things go. It's the result of uncertainty, right? That is what's sticking to your bubble when you have a lot of clutter in your space. This is why it matters. This is why talking about decluttering matters in creating a calm AF life. Clutter carries a story around with you that you don't trust yourself to make decisions, or you're afraid of letting things go, or whatever your clutter story is. I think it's important to note here that another reason why that pre-work is so important is because you will have a better idea about what you think clutter is going into the decluttering process. So I had a client who had a bin full of lipsticks. Okay, it was a decent sized bin. I bet there were probably hundreds of tubes of lipsticks. Some of them were used, some of them were empty, some of them were full and never unwrapped. But she was torturing herself around this. She's like, this is clutter. Look at this. This is like hoarding. Look at this. Look at this bin full of lipsticks. I know that it's clutter. But she was having such a hard time with it. And so I was like, well, tell me, does it feel like love? And she's like, I do love it. I love everything, every tube in here. And so we went started talking about it. And turns out it just reminded her of this quality, amazing time that she would spend with her aunt, who was kind of like her hero of her childhood. She kind of saved her from a really dysfunctional family home situation. And this aunt of hers just treated her so kindly, and she would kind of save her from the chaos. And they would go to this drugstore, like a dollar store or something, and they would just buy makeup together, and they would go home and they would play with it. And she just was talking about this. I'm like, okay, well, this bin full of lipstick to someone else might look like clutter, but to you, it is not. It's another reason why I think it's so important to go into that pre-work and really to ask yourself, do I love it? Because if I do, it doesn't matter. It's not clutter. Okay, so those are the big 3 questions. Do I love it? Do I use it? Would I buy it again? And also here are a few more questions that I tend to ask also, going a little bit further. I like to think of it from the future self. What does my future self think of this? Does my future self think this is clutter? Is it something that will serve me in becoming my future self? How does it make me feel? How does it make my future self feel? Right? Does the thoughts that I have about this thing support me in creating the life I want? Or does it drain me? Does it move me further away from the life I want? So as you're going through your stuff and you get stuck, This is why you have the container of things you're not sure about. So that's the actual work. That's the ongoing daily habit that you will take on 5 to 15 minutes a day, depending on how much time you have that day. And here's the after work step. Because you are cleaning your energy bubble daily, you will naturally start being more discerning about what comes into your space, what you will allow in and on your bubble. Once you have decluttered spots and you decluttered them from this place of love, not punishment, these spaces will carry a different energetic vibe. They will feel good. They will feel supportive. You will have really great thoughts about yourself and your ability to deserve a place that feels like love every time you look at it, right? Like every time I open my makeup drawer that I decluttered, I was like, that feels so nice. That feels so good. I love how this drawer makes me feel. There's no background noise of like, when are you going to clean this gross drawer? Look at all the empty bottles. Don't you know what to do with it? Okay, that gets quieted. That mental chatter gets quieted when you are taking care of and tending to your energetic bubble. All right, let's just leave it there. Let's keep it simple and leave it there. That, in a nutshell, is the Calm AF approach to decluttering. Obviously, if you want to go deeper, you want to join me in Calm AF Life. We are talking all about that this month. We have a decluttering challenge going on right now. It's so fun. Next week, we have Amanda Gibby Peters of Simple Shui coming to teach us more about that connection, that relationship between energy and clutter, and how to create a space that really like lines up with the life that you want. So the link to join us in Calm AF Life is in the show notes or at KristenFinch.com. All right, so next week in the decluttering series, we are going to be talking about mental clutter, the thoughts that are clogging up your brain space, blocking the flow, and disrupting your inner peace. I love you so much. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you next time. If you love this podcast, you will love Calm AF Life. It's a self-paced, lifetime access DIY course that teaches you all the concepts that I talk about here, from nervous system regulation to manifesting with ease. And since we know that true change doesn't happen just because you know what to do, you also get an all-access pass to coaching calls and accountability so you don't stay stuck and you don't give up. The best investment you could ever make is in yourself. Calm AF Life is here for you now. Life's not waiting. Let's get you aligned with your Calm AF self, gorgeous soul. I cannot wait to meet you. Go to KristenFinch.com and join me today.